Overcoming marital cheating. After 5 years of marriage, my wife cheated on our relationship, and currently, I feel absolutely no emotion towards her. This apathy worries me deeply, and this is the context of my original post. My wife of 36 years, 30 when we met, Wendy, and I introduced ourselves through friends 7 years ago. We dated for 2 years before we got married, right after I finished law school. For the first 2 years of our marriage, I worked tirelessly as an associate at my firm, putting in 60 hours a week. That effort paid off as my career was progressing well. Wendy, on the other hand, was a teacher at a private school, but after our marriage, she decided to quit her job to pursue a master's in education. She is currently engaged in a doctoral program in education, working part-time. This brought some financial strain as I sought to pay off my student loans as quickly as possible. We faced challenges but managed somehow with her old laptop that she used when we first started dating. I found the old laptop in a closet, but it was stuck and inoperable. I tried to turn it on, but to no avail. When we first met, Wendy used to take a lot of pictures, especially selfies with other people. Knowing there must have been some pictures of us back then, I reached for the laptop's hard drive and examined it. Initially, everything seemed to be fine, but I soon realized that something was wrong. Among the photos were pictures of her with different people, including a man named Bob. Wendy had dated Bob before I did, and the memory of his name came to mind as I looked at pictures of them together. I decided to separate our photos and, for that, I organized them by date. However, as I did so, I noticed that a lot of pictures of her and Bob were mixed in with ours. I got curious and started looking at the photos individually. What I discovered was distressing. Some photos with Bob showed moments of affection, hugs and kisses, and she was wearing a locket necklace that I had given her as a birthday present the second year of dating. It left me furious and devastated. The dates on the photos revealed a pattern. The times she pushed me away, claiming to go to her mother's or sister's house to make room for me, coincided with the days she was seeing Bob. My initial anger turned to numb emptiness. Instead of reacting impulsively, I began to analyze the situation in a cold and logical way. I copied all of her pictures, not just the ones I had initially seen. I packed a few things, including the flash drive with the photos, and went to my brother's house in another city. I left the laptop's hard drive connected to my PC, displaying a picture of her kissing Bob on the monitor. The only note I left was a sticker pointing to the locket necklace. Wendy tried calling me several times, including from her house and her mother's house, but I didn't answer until several hours later, by which time she had probably returned to her apartment. She blasted my phone with voicemails and texts, begging for a chance to explain. I ignored everything. I reached out to a fellow associate who worked in the family law department and we discussed separation and divorce issues. Since we had no children or shared property, things got a little simpler. My company helped create a buffer between us, filtering their calls to voicemail and denying them entry to the premises. She even found me at my brother's house, but he informed her that any attempt to break in would result in her Dobermans welcoming her. Her calls continued, but none of it affected me emotionally. I didn't feel sadness, anger, or anything else. My marriage was officially over, and I had accepted that. However, it's been 2 days, and I still feel an emotional void. The absence of feelings for her worries me deeply. Will it last? I'm still in shock, a permanently broken version of what I used to be. The advantage is that this situation has allowed me to see more clearly the solutions in my professional cases. Important advice. Before reading the updates, I'd like to offer some guidance. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. The good news is that you found out about this before having children, which would have complicated the situation even further. Not going to lie, I probably would have reacted the same way as you and not have looked back. While it's possible that you'll end up meeting her and she'll shed tears, telling you that she was alone and that none of it meant anything, remember that someone capable of hurting you so deeply doesn't deserve her more time. The person you loved may never have been real. Dealing with self-protection against pain. Unfortunately, it's an internal self-defense mechanism that will eventually subside, giving room for sadness to emerge. During this time, seek the support of your loved ones to get you through this time. Personally, I cried for her, almost as if I were dealing with the loss of someone who had passed away. Now, it's time to move on and find someone worthy while I face isolation. In my case, it was not a situation that you can understand, which makes it even more difficult. A partner's betrayal and subsequent heartbreak over something that seems meaningless would hurt me more than someone I love getting involved with someone else. After all, feelings can overwhelm us and attraction is sometimes hard to resist. It is important to emphasize that cheating is a reprehensible act, regardless of the circumstances. I am not justifying this behavior in any way. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. As a fellow lawyer, I understand the struggles of balancing work and personal life. Even if everything seems confusing right now, you should try to take a clean break and move on. The absence of hate or anger is not necessarily a negative sign for you or your future relationships. This only applies to your current marriage, which is coming to an end. The opposite of love, as mentioned earlier, is not hate but indifference. At this point, it's only been 2 days, so you might still be in shock. The best advice I can offer at this point is to seek individual counseling. As I face a similar challenge, know that often our ideals about our partners shape our feelings for them. When those ideals are shattered, it's as if the person we loved never existed. 6 years after my 9-year relationship ended, I still haven't shed a tear. Sometimes feelings of lack may arise for a brief period, but they usually dissipate. As for the first update, I would like to express my gratitude to everyone for their positive responses. I was overwhelmed by the solidarity and grateful to everyone who shared their experiences of similar emotional numbness. It is comforting to know that this feeling is normal. I am considering seeking individual counseling in the near future. My company colleague, Gail, not her real name, has been handling my case. I reviewed other photos from the device and found images of Wendy hugging and kissing Bob, with the engagement ring I gave her clearly visible. When I found out about this, I didn't experience any negative emotions, just a strange feeling of relief. I asked Gail why this disturbing news had brought me any comfort. She explained that it's probably because this revelation validates my subsequent removal actions. I had no direct contact with Wendy, all communications go through Gail. However, she reached out to family and friends, mistakenly believing that my brother and his wife would be supportive. Unfortunately, this is not true. Gail has already prepared a separation agreement and arranged a meeting with Wendy. She has made it clear that Wendy must be represented by an attorney and that I will not participate in any conversations. I am now filing for divorce, and Gail believes spousal support will be minimal and the situation resolved quickly. In fact, I will be paying rent for the next 5 months until our apartment lease is up and Wendy completes her doctoral studies. The only relevant asset is a joint savings account for the house, but I don't have access to the money. Thanks to a bank official for his suggestion of extra security. My sister-in-law helped pack my things and listened to Wendy for several hours. Wendy continued to tell lie after lie without any validation. Her question to my sister-in-law was, is there anyone she just can't refuse, to which my sister-in-law replied that yes, she is married to me. Spending time with my family kept me from feeling completely isolated. Our nephews have been such a comfort and I'm enjoying every moment of it. My work is going well, and the partner who oversees my department has expressed pride that I haven't let this personal issue affect my professional performance. That's it for now. Thank you to everyone who responded with words of support. Your posts really help, and it's nice to know I'm not alone in going through this. Here are some key points to consider before reading further. The latest update brought the sister-in-law's impactful response. I owe you a lot for the results. Congratulations, it's great that your company has been so supportive. The plan was redone with excellence after being surprised. Action. I successfully executed the strategy and landed safely by pulling the cord. This will also positively impact your career path. Take the opportunity to follow your learning desires. Explore courses in sailing, aviation, scuba diving, kitesurfing and race car driving. You will have the chance to meet interesting people while having fun and learning. Congratulations on achieving this state of nonchalance towards challenging situations. This is crucial in dealing with a rebellious partner. That's the mindset we seek when we leave those who act dishonestly behind. Many of us struggle for years to achieve this emotional clarity. It sounds like you've become a skilled master of the art of not being manipulated. Good job, and I wish her a smooth journey. Now moving on to the second and final update. Wendy consulted a lawyer. Todd and I met with this attorney at a neutral location. At a different company, we were masked due to the current situation. It made it seem like we were there with dubious intentions. It was the first time I saw Wendy since she moved in with her sister. She was visibly shaken, with reddened eyes and signs of tiredness. A tear smeared her makeup, leaving her skin streaked. She had hives on her neck, which caught my attention. I looked at her, but I felt nothing at that moment, reserving that review for later. As soon as she saw me, Wendy blurted out, expressing her regret for everything. She admitted her love for me and that her decision was a mistake. She tried to hug me, but Gail stepped in, putting a wedge between us. Todd was instructed to remind Wendy not to speak directly to us. Communication would be through Todd, who would communicate with Gail, who would then speak to me. Gail advised me to remain silent, which I managed to do, masking my emotions. I thought this would be difficult, but my anger hasn't resurfaced. I was more numb, almost in a trance. As an out-of-body experience, Todd brought up the subject of reconciliation. Gail clarified that we were there to review the terms of the separation. None of that mattered anymore since we'd been married for 5 years. Gail reminded Todd that Wendy shouldn't speak directly to me. Todd whispered something to Wendy, temporarily calming her down. Gail and Todd began discussing the details of the separation agreement, which had been emailed. Although Todd initially expressed disagreement, Gail refuted her arguments. Eventually, he agreed that the settlement was fair within legal bounds. Wendy protested, arguing that none of this was fair, as it was all a mistake. Gail shared black and white photos from the flash drive, showing Wendy kissing and hugging Bob, with her engagement ring visible. Gail highlighted the ring in each picture with a red marker, while Todd asked Wendy about each picture. Wendy was visibly upset and started crying again. My satisfaction was obvious, but I remained silent. I empathized with Todd, understanding his position. I've been in his shoes, dealing with difficult clients. The other lawyer was Wayne, whose period of success was between 1982 and 1986. He was an outstanding hockey player, while I was a less experienced goaltender. The truth was, I just wanted the meeting to be over. I left without saying a word to Wendy as it wasn't worth it. Every word that came out of her mouth would be questionable. Gail received the separation agreement signed the day before, surprising me. I thought I would be responsible for rent until June to preserve my credit. However, now we will equally divide the entrance to the house. Wendy agreed to sign the agreement quickly. She will take over the rent starting this month, plus all associated expenses. This will leave you with enough money to move to a new place. While Wendy believes this to be a win, in reality, she has eliminated my only significant asset. The divorce will go more smoothly now, with Gail preparing a petition for an indisputable separation. Fortunately, it will not be necessary to appear in court. And now, the best news. During the 5th year of our marital union, it emerged that we had not yet reached the milestone of 5 full years of marriage. Instead, we had shared a period of 4 years and 7 months in this married state. If the time span of the marriage does not exceed 5 full years, it is customary for the family court to seek dissolution frequently, a concept borrowed from contractual rules. From this perspective, the court will endeavor to restore the parties involved to their previous financial positions, those they occupied before the covenant, or in our context, before the marriage. Specifically, at the moment immediately before the celebration of the marriage, I found myself unemployed and with substantial debts. I had recently completed my studies and was waiting for the results. In contrast, Wendy held a full-time occupation as a teacher with fair wages, had Northwest real estate or dependent children, and had a considerable financial reserve. She boasted academic qualifications, including a graduate degree, and was on the verge of undertaking a doctorate. In this context, it would not be convincing for Wendy to argue that the dissolution of the marriage would not apply to this specific situation. In short, no child support has been determined, as warned by Gail. Todd was told by her that if he objected to the divorce, the first witness called would be Bob. Todd promptly responded, indicating that Wendy had agreed not to contest the legal separation. If all goes according to plan, 3 months from now, I will be promptly putting this sad chapter of my life behind me. I no longer experience significant emotions toward Wendy and am no longer haunted by thoughts of the person I became romantically and maritally involved with. The individual named Wendy, whom I dated and married, appears to have been a fictional creation with no real existence. The person who betrayed and deceived me, the one who shared my life, is now revealed to be a complete stranger. In hindsight, our entire relationship turns out to be an elaborate farce, a deceptive and delusional plot, engineered for a benefit, at my own expense. I believe my current perspective is also influenced by my first substantial employment experience after my graduation and before law school. During the time I worked in commission-based selling, we were taught that you have to go through numerous denials before you can get consent. Therefore, we were suggested not to get attached to rejections, but to focus on the search for consents, as these would be achieved more efficiently and quickly. Wendy represented a no in my career, and I invested considerable time and effort in vain. Now, I've decided to end relationships with friends, family, and coworkers, and I've noticed my smile reappear. In all honesty, I feel better than I have in years. However, just in case, I scheduled some telephone counseling sessions to ensure my emotional well-being. How the next steps unfold remains uncertain, and these considerations will likely represent the last update I will provide. Thanks again to everyone for the support and wisdom offered. If the opportunity arises, I would like to reciprocate the excellent suggestions with some ideas of my own. If you are faced with marital betrayal, it is prudent to immediately seek the advice of a lawyer. After such consultation, following the advice of the attorney is the most sensible approach. To all viewers of the video, I ask that you share your reflections in the comments section below. Do not forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel if this content was to your liking. Until next time, I wish you all a good day.